Armada Book 5 Chapter 7 The Earth's Part 2. The next day, Andrew, Timmy and Albert met with Alan, Harold and Julia to map out colonization and the expansion of the U.S. into other countries and off-world. Then they met with heads of the major countries and explained their plans. They met at the mission hall of Albert's ship. Andrew explained to them the consequences of the fusion economy and that Vicky will be releasing technologies that will slowly improve the lives of the human race. All of which will make the U.S. the richest country comprising more than half of the world economy. Julia, Alan, you have to invite countries into your Commonwealth. There will be countries that we will not offer Commonwealth status, and these countries, we would have to give them their own planets. I suppose you mean the largest economies, Albert said. Also the most egalitarian. Specifically the Japanese, Germans, Brits, Canadians, French, the Norwegians, Danes, Israelis and so on. What will happen is once we talk to them and they know they will be getting their own planet or planets, they will try to expand their economies to include other countries. Countries that you guys want to be in with your Commonwealth. So you have to be quick. Andrew said. Let me get this straight, buddy. We give them planets, they form their planet countries, then we form a federation of human planets, and it could be that the US may have say 6 planets, the Japanese would have 2 and so on. Timmy said. Yes, Tim, but you have to understand that a planet is a pretty large place. It does not make sense to spread your resources too thinly. You may later find out that there is a better planet to hold and may leave the one you have. So you have to choose well. Olive would have all the information on all the planets within beaming range from here. Andrew said. Do I get that the money from the crooks and the fusion economy will help build the real estate needed in the planets the US will get? Harold asked. Yes, but you have to provide to help the other countries as well. Give them a few billions in aid for the infrastructure. Build for them. Remember, your old-timers would be working again. Andrew answered. I could not imagine a 75-year grandpa doing construction work. Julia commented, and the locals laugh. You'd be surprised. Anyway, Albert, part of the deal in giving them their own planet is U.S. leadership. You will head the Federation and Timmy will head the U.S. planets. Andrew said. The problem with other countries is that there are countries that hate the U.S. Alan commented. Their governments may hate the U.S., but their people do not. Invite their people but not their governments. Things will change if they understand what longer lives mean to them. Andrew said. So if they want to live long, immigrate to the U.S.? Alan asked. Of course, screen them well, then have them sign the Equality Declaration. Andrew said. You know Congress is breathing down my neck because they want their people to talk to you. Alan said. Alan, you know me and I know you, I mean the other me. I know Timmy and Albert and Julia. I trust you guys. I cannot talk to somebody I do not know or trust. If they want they can talk to us, let them talk to Manpat or Poom or Keelmill, but not me. I only want to talk to you and those on the list. Tell them we hold all the cards and we talk only to those we want to talk to. Frankly, our time is so short, we have to leave in a few days. We want to set things up before we go. Andrew said. For the next 5 days, Andrew and his people met with each of the key personalities and they explained their specific task at hand. Rogan also talked with the local Rogan who turned out to be a teacher but a war veteran to establish the Armada Training Academy. After several days both of them talked to the selected Marines and stormtroopers, briefed them on the ways of the Armada and gave them all the necessary implants. Andrew and Manpat met with Edna, Maria, Liz, Harold and Timmy about finances. Buddy, Vicky will release the fusion technology and Edna, Maria, Liz and Harold will get all the royalties and profits. Timmy asked. Yes, Maria's group will get a third while Harold gets the rest. You need the money for your off-world activities that you and Albert will lead. There are several planets ideal for first-time colonies. Olive will tell you these. And Harold, how much money did you get out of the criminal organizations? Andrew asked. 10 trillion. It's unbelievable that these guys have that much money. And we just started on these bad guys. Eric and Roger are working on the oligarch and tyrant groups to make sure they become poor. As agreed, I have given a third to Maria and her group. Harold answered. Edna, did you meet up with Victor and her daughter Stephanie? Andrew asked. Yes, not yet, but we will meet with them in 2 days. Tell me, Andrew, why did you select me, Liz and Maria to get a third of the fusion and Harold's money? Trust. You and Maria and Liz, your hearts and minds are in the right place. Andrew answered. He went on to explain the tasks at hand. We have to slowly integrate the human economy with the economies of other species. You will establish the fusion production facilities on Earth with Maria. Maria will open several off-world banking cooperatives with off-worlders as owners, and you will manage not only your money but Harold's also, and later on money from several alien species like the Talonauts, Inkies, Max, Marantais and so on. If you think the 10 trillion is large, that is a drop in the Inky money stream. Edna, you will open the intergalactic currency exchange. You will establish so many businesses across the galaxies, the size of which is extremely large. Imagine raising cattle in 2 planets and selling all of these to the Max, Inkies and the others. You guys will establish an intergalactic university that will benefit so many human planets and other species as well. You will also establish so many schools on Earth, thousands with your own money, and these will benefit the poor. Your team will accomplish a lot more, much more. There's this rich people bloc who are exercising pressure on Alan for alien technologies. They have started a move in Congress to impeach Alan for all these things he had agreed to without their approval. Timmy said. I have them, Andrew. Do you want them frozen in time boxes? Olive asked. Yes, and have some trunties read their minds. Better yet, get all the top politicians on Earth, starting with the US, and read their minds. Get Eric and Roger to handle the issue. Conduct the mind reading at the hangar bays. Harold, you can get some of these people's money if they prove to be crooks. Harold nodded. Once we know what they know, we would know their group, backers and an ultimate intention. You know, Andrew, the way you operate is extremely fast. Like you know what to do in all the situations. Timmy said. Yes, and also to gather intel. They may be cooking up something we do not know about. Actually, Timmy, I see this as a learning experience for me and my people. That next time around we would do better. After the mind reading, I can talk to your Congress or all your people and explain things to them. It would be a different thing if they see an alien talk to them. If they see Andrew, they would think it's their Andrew, a regular human. Manpat said. Let me talk to Alan about that. Timmy said. Yes, Timmy. So how do you guys find your new ships? Andrew asked. Maria answered, Edna and Liz are redecorating each of their ships right now. They are also in charge of redecorating Albert's and Vicky's ships. Elaine beams in with Ellie. Maria and her group walked over to them and embraced them. Ellie went over to Timmy and gave him a hug and a kiss. I like my new ship, and Julia is absolutely amazed at her ship. Working out of a ship has definite advantages. The scientists and students are absolutely amazed. Elaine said. Keelmill told me that the data system upgrade will go through the DG in 3 days so you can have your own AIs. Ellie said. Olive, where are the young couple we met in San Francisco? Andrew asked. Andrew, I have them. I started looking for them yesterday and now I have them. Do you want me to beam them here? No, beam them in front of Andrew and tell Andrew to give them 5 ships to operate as hospitals for old people. Tell Keelmill to assign some Mac medics and train the local doctors. Edna, give this couple a few billions, maybe 5 for the first year, to let them do their work on the old people. Edna nodded. Then the 3 Armada ships arrived. 1 for the local Andrew, 1 for Billy and 1 for Ellie. Alan wanted some drama, so the press was invited over to a tour of the ship. One press crew tried to put a video device inside Olive and he was promptly beamed out to for a mind reading. Alan agreed to let Manpat have a press interview after the tour at the reception hall with selected interviewers who are the more famous news personalities. Sit down, ladies and gentlemen. Olive, do the introduction please. Manpat said. This is Johnny, Mike, Blake and the woman is Sandra. Olive said. I will only answer questions I like to answer. So make sure your questions are good. Make them as direct as possible and skip any background information. You first, Johnny. Manpat said. Why are you here? Next question. Sandra. What technology will you give us? Next question. Mike. Why did you choose the US to partner with? Next question. Blake. How will you deal with the other countries? Next question. Wait, let's stop this interview. You are all asking questions you can just find out from Alan and the government. Stop asking questions I can assume you already know and that the people know. Let me ask you 4, what is it that one thing we asked the humans on Earth? The 4 could not say. The one request we have is that you humans from Earth learn, understand and do, to treat us aliens and other humans as your equal. Once you do this, the galaxies and long lifetimes will be open to you. Of course, we understand that you cannot learn this in 1 generation or even in 10, so we will impose that you all sign assurance or undertaking that you will do so before we let you out into the galaxies. And if we break it? Johnny asked. Manpat did not even look at Johnny. Manpat related the story of the Datuans and the Tosbans, how they enslaved his 2 sons and millions of his people. How his 2 sons as emperors managed them in order to teach them to live without slaves and to treat other species as equal to them. They are still trying to learn. You are just one country, they have hundreds of planets. Their armies are the size of your country's population and their ships are as large as our Armada ships. We told them not to travel outside of the galaxies until they learned this simple request. Manpat continued, our Armada, in all our encounters do not deal with local issues of most species. But as you know, our Andrew and our people felt deep compassion for this Earth. Your people are very close to the people we are very close to. But we see you as children, impetuous, rash, immature. Once you learn this equality thing, you suddenly mature to a compassionate person. Everything starts with you treating the other guy, who may not be human, as you would treat yourself. The second commandment is exactly that. Sandra said. Manpat turned to Sandra. Yes, I read about your religions, and if it were already written in one of your largest religion, how come you have not learned it? Instead of promoting this concept that you already know for thousands of years, you act the opposite and even enact laws that promote inequality. If you go out and feel you are above species like the Max, Keelmill species, who are so peaceful and would never hurt anybody, you will enslave these people, and a lot of species have. These species have suffered so much pain because they would rather suffer and not hurt the other species. Take this one and only request we have seriously and you will all prosper. Manpat paused for a few minutes. Here's what we want. We would like you guys to unite, possibly under one country or a few countries. We have asked Alan and he has talked with your leaders to integrate other countries into your country. Of course this act alone will upset a lot of you because you consider yourselves above and beyond your poorer neighbors. Instead of helping your poor people, you disdain them and would rather feel superior to them. These poor will be forever poor unless you help them. Stop behaving like children, grow up. Then we have also asked Alan to retrain all of the armed forces along Armada ways. General Rogan is in charge of this. As you can imagine, all your present armaments will be useless. The fusion economy will bring prosperity to your world. Our program to cure your old people's illnesses and give them longer lives will be one of the greatest gifts mankind can receive. The technology out there is such that you would never learn it in 100,000 years even with your longer lives. Manpat saw Don among the press in front of him. He called out his name and motioned him to sit beside him. As Don sat beside Manpat, slowly and unsure, how's Donna Reek doing? Manpat asked him in a low voice. She's at home taking care of our kids. Great. I am glad to know that you're married to each other. Then Manpat turned to the press people. Don here will create the Armada news service for Earth and off-world humans. Next time ask him what's up with the Armada. Thank you. The next day Alan told Manpat to address the Congress. As usual, light and wind first, then Manpat's hologram flanked by Keelmill and Larry. Manpat started, this is Keelmill, a Maquis, and Larry, a Norset. My name is Manpat and I am a Talonot. He went on to explain the equality requirement and the Crimson process. Then he went on to explain the need for countries to unite into fewer countries and if possible into one country. Then he went on to explain that they should remove several laws that are counter to the equality principle. He gave them a list and it was very long. Then he went on to explain that they needed to be always conscious of the equality concept and requirement. Then he went on to explain that some countries may hate the US but not its people, so the US must undergo a conscious effort to bring these people into the country. Manpat continued, I want you all to understand and be conscious, all the time, of this equality concept. This is our one and only request before we let you out into the galaxies. We have read the minds of all your human leaders and we know what they know. We know what they have done and some are really bad. But the times require people to change for the better, so we should let bad people try to become good. Please be good for your species. Thank you. Manpat stood quietly. Alan stood up and motioned the Speaker of the House to speak. The Speaker of the House was vicious in his attack of Alan and his party. Then he criticized the alien groups on the requirement to change the laws. That the people will not bow to alien dictators. You guys are very lucky to have a great leader such as Alan here. Manpat then showed a hologram of Alan saying, Andrew, Max, thanks. Then Rogan answered, sure, Alan, anytime. We'll see you later. A simple expression of gratitude after we ended an invasion of Earth. Something this group of leaders does not understand. Instead of thanking Alan, you people exert efforts to remove Alan. You are either a group of selfish idiots or conniving ingrates or both. Please understand that the reason why we are doing this is that the people of this planet are very close to the heart of our Armada leader. Andrew wants to see you succeed, to prosper and grow into a well-developed civilization. It's obvious you have a long way to go before you reach the starting line. He went on to explain what they did to the Knit-Tins and Round Eyes. I can just beam all of the bad leaders and rich people into space right now and stop this argument. He motioned his hand and told Olive to lift the bad guys off their chairs and slowly return them to their chairs. Or we can replace some of you with our own people that look like you. Manpat, Larry and Keelmill changed into Alan, Rogan and Andrew, then they switched back to themselves. Or I can leave you arguing away and wasting your time. You are not bound to follow our request, our one and only request. But think about it. In 40 years all of you here will be dead. But those who simply chose to be nice to the other guy will live a few hundred years more. After a few hundred years, your children and your children's children, and all those who do not choose to follow our one request will all be dead. And those who chose to follow will still be alive and will be for a few hundred years more and enjoying a very good life in intergalactic space. Time is on our side. While we do not like wasting our time, we have all the time in the world to waste. I expect that the bad people will understand the situation and spearhead our requests to remove the laws that we listed. Remember, we know who you are. We have read your minds and know what you have done. You cannot pretend or lie to us. Andrew was watching Manpat and he is amazed at his style. Manpat, that went extremely well. I was amazed at your dramatic performance. I used to be king, remember? An earthquake would occur in the next 6 hours in Italy near Rome. Magnitude 9.3. The city will be leveled. Olive said. Send out all our taggers, start with the buildings and denser areas near the center. Explode tags where you can. Andrew said. We can only tag 74% of the people. We cannot possibly beam them all out. Larry, come over here please. Larry appeared. Yes, Andrew. Olive explained the situation to Larry. Is there a way to delay or stop the earthquake like a time warp field along the fault line? Andrew asked. We can beam several time warp fields at various points around the fault line. This way the ground will not move. But you have to understand the stress is coming from very deep in the ground and the fault rupture is the outcome, not the cause. Can we deploy time warps deeper? Andrew asked. We can beam a few bombs to ease the stress but very deep. Larry countered. The ideal points to explode the bombs to ease the stress would be these. A hologram of the Earth appeared with lighted points. 188 bombs and the ideal time to deploy is now. Duichi. Andrew said. It's done. The bombs are exploding now. Olive said. Larry looked at the holograms and, I think that did the trick. Recall our taggers. Andrew said. For a moment there I thought we had a problem. Manpat said and Andrew just smiled. That night Andrew and Rogan had a quiet dinner with Andrew and Vicky at Vicky's house. Olive was there to help out with the drinks. Right after dinner, Albert, Timmy, Elaine and Ellie beamed in. They moved out into Vicky's garden at the back. Olive beamed several chairs so they can sit. In our dimension, Vicky and I have a house at Planet Los Angeles. It's a small 2-bedroom house with a view of a waterfall on one side and the lake on another. Behind the house Vicky put up several permanent tables and chairs for visitors. Our most common dinner guests are you three, Julia and Danny, Harold and sometimes Ellie's best friends. Maybe we can look for our own Planet Los Angeles and move there. Local Andrew said. I have a house in Planet Portland because I set up an Armada training academy there. The whole planet is one large university courtesy of Maria's group. I also have a house in Planet Los Angeles but I live most of my time at Planet Portland. Rogan said. So where does your wife teach? She's a teacher I presume. Vicky inquired. In Planet Portland. Tell me Andrew, how is it like out there? Local Andrew asked. Amazing is an understatement. What I do is that I put a lot of drama into my activities. Andrew said. He then related Roger's story and his winning line. That is so funny. You know what? I will do exactly that. Local Andrew said. It does not hurt to be funny and dramatic, especially at the oddest moments. Rogan said. I can imagine. Local Andrew said. You know what's strange? I look at Andrew and I see my best friend. Then I look at you Andrew and I see my best friend also. Why is this? Timmy asked. Daddy, it's in our genes. Ellie said. Where's the local Rogan? Rogan asked. I did not invite him because he will pester me again. He's always trying to get back at me for all my jokes on him. Local Andrew said. Same here. Andrew seconded. The group laughed. Olive, get Rogan and his wife over. Rogan said. They're sleeping already. The guys looked at each other and laughed. I know. Rogan said. Julia and Danny beamed in. Look who dropped by. Vicky said. I guess people are the same even if the universe may differ a little bit. Andrew said and local Andrew nodded. Where's your daughter Danny? Andrew asked. Ari's up north with some friends. Danny said. Olive played her usual role in these gatherings. She expected a lot of noisy debates and arguments so she put up a time warp field around the house so the neighbors will not be bothered. Look who dropped by. Andrew said. The group was amazed to meet their other selves from the dimension Ellie was working on. Local Ellie moved to embrace Ellie, and when she embraced Ghost Ellie her arms went right through. So my Ellie is the one wearing the GX1 uniform, while the other Ellie I presume is from the other dimension. Why was she a hologram Ellie? Andrew asked. Sir, she's a ghost. She died in an accident in a cave. This is David, Ghost Ellie's husband. Ellie said. Andrew, I am now turning the whole place crimson invisible. Olive said. Andrew shook David's hand and Local Ellie embraced David. Again, Local Ellie embraced Ghost Ellie. Ellie and Ghost Ellie noticed Local Ellie embrace David a second or two longer. They felt Local Ellie smell him. Then she shook his hand. Local Timmy and Local Elaine walked nearer and embraced Ellie and Ghost Ellie before embracing their other selves from Ghost Ellie's dimension. As she moved around, Ghost Ellie was watching the Local Ellie from the corner of her eye. Ellie also moved around but kept her eyes on the Local Ellie. They saw the Local Ellie start a conversation with David. Ellie and Ghost Ellie avoided telepathic communications because they did not want anybody to hear. The two purposely avoided the Local Ellie and left her talking to David. Albert, what do you think of your other self here in this dimension? Ellie asked. Amazing. We intended to exchange jokes and we realized we are both divorced. I actually feel him. He waved at the Local Albert who was talking to the Local Danny. Julia and the Local Julia were seated and were talking about something serious. Ghost Ellie was talking to the Local Timmy and Local Elaine. I feel that you are my daughter, but then there are three of you here and I feel strange. Local Elaine said. It is strange. And you're a ghost. But I can still feel you. Local Timmy said. Dad, you'd be surprised, but other species have this capacity to feel their offsprings or close relatives like we do. Ghost Ellie said. Ellie could see the three Andrews talking seriously when suddenly the Local Andrew cracked a joke and the three laughed. Ellie approached the group. I was telling them that in our dimension, our Earth is not aware of the Armada. Andrew said. Incidentally, sir. Hilm told me that we should try to learn how we can out this to our Earth through our travels into the different Earth dimensions. Ellie said. Yes. My thoughts exactly. Andrew agreed. I feel you and the Ghost Ellie are setting up something here. Local Andrew said. Why would you say that, sir? Ghost Ellie asked. Look guys, I think he feels what I know. Dimension Andrew said. And what do you know, sir? Ellie asked. Dimension Andrew pointed to the Local Ellie and David who are now seated and talking. Ellie smiled. Andrew, after working with these two Ellies in my dimension, I realized these two are really like twins. They are absolutely very close to each other. They feel each other. They laugh and joke around like best friends and also argue like sisters do. And then I see and feel you Andrew and the Local Andrew, and I am not at all surprised. Dimension Andrew said. Ghost Ellie stood beside Local Timmy. So what happens with your husband now that you're a ghost? Timmy asked. Daddy, I told him to look for another woman so I can move on to heaven and so he can live a normal life with a normal wife. Honey, I think there is only one solution. Elaine said and pointed to David and Local Ellie. Timmy observed Ellie talking to the three Andrews and noticed her taking a quick glance at Local Ellie. Yes, dear, I think two people got lucky tonight. Timmy said and Ghost Ellie smiled. Let them get to know each other. I actually feel her liking him already, although I can't tell if David would agree to marry her. After 2 hours, the 3 Andrews, 2 Alberts, 2 Dannys and 2 Timmys were moderately inebriated and were all talking their heads off in one table. Ghost Ellie and Ellie made it a point to be with the guys who were talking about more or less serious things while moderately drunk. Although punctuated by a quick one from the 2 Alberts who were cracking most of the jokes and the 3 Andrews did not even notice that they were out-joked. The women stayed together in another table. Unnoticed by Local Ellie and David, they have been sitting and talking for more than 2 hours already and have not moved around. They also did not notice everybody else noticed. Ellie, I can feel the Local Ellie. I think it's time to talk to them. Ellie said. Local Andrew overheard them and, if you need me just call. Ghost Ellie and Ellie walked to the table where Local Ellie and David have been talking since they arrived. Dave stood and wanted to move to Ghost Ellie. Dave, sit down. Ghost Ellie said. Ellie, so how are you doing? Ellie asked. I'm okay but busy since Andrew arrived, everything is a rush. Local Ellie said looking at her. Ghost Ellie held Local Ellie's hand and, Ellie, you can feel the two of us, right? Local Ellie nodded. Can I ask you for one little favor? Ghost Ellie asked. Of course. If I would do it for myself I would do it for you. Exactly my feeling. Ellie, can you please marry my husband David? I felt you and Ellie about this maybe about an hour ago. I would agree to marry him but would he marry me? Local Ellie asked. Of course. David, will you marry Ellie here? Ghost Ellie asked. She specifically pointed to Local Ellie to be precise in her question. Dave was quiet for a moment. Okay, honey. If it's okay with you. Dave said. You know it's okay with me. I love you very much and I want you to be happy. I want you to live a normal life with a normal wife. And Ellie here would be the best wife for you. Ellie embraced the local Ellie, then embraced David. Ghost Ellie embraced local Ellie and kissed her on both cheeks. Local Timmy and local Elaine moved quicker than the other Rivers couple. Local Timmy started, great. Congratulations. Honey, I am so happy for you. Local Elaine embraced local Ellie and kissed her. Then it was the other couple's turn. Then the party took another turn with renewed vigor. Now all they were talking about was the wedding, the first interdimension wedding. Andrew related his wedding to Vicky, then local Andrew related their wedding. Then Dimension Andrew related his wedding story to the group. Honey, how on earth did you know? Local Timmy asked Ghost Ellie. Daddy, Ellie and I realized that this dimension's Ellie may be a bit different and we may get lucky. So when our Andrew asked Tom about Ellie's Andrew, we realized the moment. See, we did not even say a word. The two just worked it out by themselves. Or clicked. And we felt Ellie all the time she was with David. From the time she looked at David until now. Daddy, right now she is very happy. Ellie said. I can feel the other Elaine excited and happy. How about you, dear? Local Elaine said. Same here. Local Timmy said. The next day. Andrew assigned the local Andrew and local Ellie to look for Rodin and deal with the Inky problem. He assigned Billy to take care of the Norset problem. He accompanied Billy until they were able to liberate the Norset planets. After the ass-kissing, Andrew's group left for home. Hi honey, you're back. Vicky said as Andrew walked over to her. She was working behind her desk when Andrew beamed in. She noticed something different on how Andrew looked at her. Why, what's wrong? Andrew embraced her tight and kissed her several times. Then a long embrace. I missed you so much, Vic. You were out in just under 2 months and you have been out longer. Why, what happened? The Earth we went to had a Vicky married to Andrew. They were a funny couple. The Andrew there was a drunk bum joker while Vicky was the Secretary of State. But she loved him so much but threw him out of their house a lot of times. He was an accomplished special ops colonel but lost his job because of his jokes. I see myself in the Andrew and often see him looking at Vicky, the way I look at you. He even noticed me looking at his wife. But I know she is not you. So as I look at you, I missed you more because I know she is not you. Andrew kissed her again. Then Andrew related Ellie's visit from another dimension and the ensuing engagement of the local Ellie to David. It was a bit confusing for Andrew telling the story, but after a while Vicky understood that there were 3 Andrews and Ellies. So when we attend their wedding we would see several me, Ellies, Andrews, and others. Yes honey. You will be amazed at how you can feel the other Vickies. When you saw your people in that Earth, how did you feel about them? Exactly the point, Vic, I felt the same. Manpat, Rogan and Poom felt the same because they have worked with a lot of them. I cared a lot and felt they were really my people. Manpat told me that if ever he goes into the Talonot arena in the other dimension, he might become too emotional. I met with Ricky and Christy, and the feeling I have for them is the same. I met with Timmy and we felt really close. He felt he is talking to his best friend and I was talking to mine. Did you feel anything, like a headache? No, I felt Oklahoma. Maybe a month is too short. But I knew and felt the Andrew there all the time and he said he feels my presence, feels what I feel. This was really a learning experience for me and I understand myself more now. I guess your people have a lot of traveling to do. Yes, and immediately. There is so much out there. You can go with one of these missions if you like. No, I'd rather be here with Adam. Vicky said.